The latest Predator film is now in theaters. Does it bleed so audiences can kill it? Let's find out.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Once more unto the bridge, dear friends.
Again and again until we're both dead.
There's only like 12 stories. They change around little details, but they're all pretty much the same.
Deja vu. Something very familiar about it.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews connection of mind. Predator Badlands is the latest theatrical release in the Predator franchise. It is directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who had previously directed Prey and Predator Killer of Killers on Hulu. And this film gives us the deepest look yet into Predator/Yautja society. When a young Yautja named Dek is exiled from his family, he travels to a planet which contains the unkillable prey, and in order to return to his family with honor, he must then seek out and kill this unkillable prey. However, things don't go quite according to plan, and he's forced to team up with an unlikely ally in a Weyland-Yutani synthetic. Now, this review will contain spoilers of Predator Badlands. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, though, but just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on this review. So, first things first, let's get into some spoiler-free talk on Predator Badlands. Is this a good Predator film in the general franchise? Is this a good, action sci-fi film in general? Is it worth seeing in the theaters? I would say absolutely. That, I didn't see Prey in when it first came out, but I finally got around to viewing it as part of my New Year's resolution this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the best. It was a very good Predator movie and well worth the hype. And I also sought out. I'm a little late to the game. I didn't review it, but I did see Predator Killer of Killers prior to see this one, just so I could, get as much Dan Trachtenberg Predator knowledge as I could going into this movie. And I will say, if you enjoyed Prey and you enjoyed Predator Killer of Killers, you're definitely going to enjoy this movie. Personally, my brief review of Killer of Killers is it was very interesting, great animation. I have some slight issues with it, with character-wise, especially towards the end, but overall, I'd say it was a solid movie. And this also is a very solid movie. This is probably one of the more radical Predator movies yet, on a couple of reasons. One, we actually get extended sequences where predators are talking to each other. Like, up till now, the most dialogue that we've ever gotten from a predator is, either him repeating a recorded line that someone else had said, or him laughing like Vincent Price before he blows himself up in the original movie. So, and of course, we know they have a language. They have at least written words that we see, but here we get to hear their language and hear them speak. And this is sort of a double-edged sword, I think. One, it is fascinating to finally dive into the Yautja culture and what makes them tick with one another and how they are able to adapt to new situations. But also, there's the potential to have something lost when the quote-unquote unstoppable killing machine that doesn't speak suddenly speaks. And you lose that kind of element to it, that mystery. So if you're going to remove the mystery, you got to put something enticing in this place. And fortunately, I think for the most part, Dan Trachtenberg and his team did a great job filling in the mystery of this. I feel like Dek is a fleshed out character. You understand his motivations, and I think it's his dynamic with Thea, the robot, the synthetic, played by Elle Fanning. You understand his motivations for doing that, and working his way around to how to give this person, especially when you say, oh, Yautja hunt alone. Well, why are you bringing her along? Oh, well, she's a synthetic. Oh, so it means you're a tool, huh? Well, I guess that's okay. And that opens the door for other, that interaction with one another. And speaking of Elle Fanning, I think she did a really good job in this role. I mean, she's also got a physicality associated with it. You see in the trailers when he first meets her, she's cut in half, kind of like Rook or whatever his name was. The deepfake Ian Holm in Alien Romulus is he's a half synthetic, and she's got the physicality. She's walking around on her hands, and she's flinging herself around and doing these things, and so you've got that aspect of her performance, and it's all believable, and that's a great job with that. One of the best things I liked about Prey is that pretty much everything that they set up along the way has a payoff in the finale, and I think that they tried to do the same thing here, and for the most part, it worked. Like, if you're these are the kind of tropes and tricks of the trade that's, with writing, that this is what you want to see in a good story, where you set something up, it pays off in a meaningful way, not just, gets referenced later. No, it actually does pay off in a meaningful way, and that's why I say it mostly works. I have a couple of quibbles later, but I think I'll reveal those in the spoiler section. But overall, I'd say this worked very well. Where I think this movie is going to be somewhat hit or miss depending on your fandom and how well you know these franchises is, again, for me, it's the incorporation of the Weyland-Yutani-ness of it all. I referenced it in the intro. That's not a spoiler because you see Weyland-Yutani logos elsewhere in the trailers of the movie. So the trailers revealed that Weyland-Yutani was going to be a part of this. And if you don't know, they're in the Alien franchise. And the previous team-up of these franchises was in the Alien vs. Predator films from 2004 and I believe 2007 was AVP Requiem. And I love Alien vs. Predator. It's one of my guilty pleasure movies. However, that one, and franchise breaking continuity or, retconning, crossovers is nothing new. And they said that those films weren't in continuity back in the day. But you're opening the door again, and they've already established that the Alien timeline under Disney's helm through 20th Century Studios is pretty much intact at this point. With Alien Romulus, Alien Earth, nothing they've done so far breaks from the established Alien continuity. I mean, it kind of ignores Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but, the main ones, Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Resurrection, nothing from that has so far been established. So they're keeping the continuity in that department. Now you bring that in, the Predator franchise, into this. So now we have to ask the question, well, because, again, this goes back to that world building thing, starts to get tricky when you start to wrap these in with each other. If you've, I'm not going to reveal anything for Killer of Killers, but if you've seen Killer of Killers on Hulu, especially in the post-credit scene, you know that they're keeping the continuity static there between Prey and Predator 2, at the very least, assuming Predators, they haven't referenced that yet, but those three for sure. And so now you've got Predator Badlands with, the Yautja interacting with Weyland-Yutani synthetics. Well, where does this fit into the timeline? How is this going to affect continuity? That's the sort of baggage that if it's not done right, it can cause headaches later on. And again, depending on your level of fandom, if this is the first Predator movie you've seen, none of this is going to make a difference to you whatsoever. If you're a fan of both the Alien and the Predator franchises, you're going to be asked these questions. And for me, having to ponder these details can be a bit distracting, and I'm probably not alone in that. But then again, there are probably going to be others that just kind of go with the flow. It's like, yeah, it's a new continuity, so what? And so on that front, I would say your mileage may vary concerning those details. However, I think the overall they did a good enough job, and they're enticingly teeing up what can come in the credit scenes. So from that standpoint, I'm curious to see what they do more. And really, the only things I feel like I need to say on this is that, this has great cinematography as well. A lot of the same kind of drone footage, and the action scenes are pretty well cut together. The finale is pretty fun. Like I said, it does tie back in with everything that was referenced and established prior to that. So that's always a fun bit. The score was pretty good. However, I think, especially in the beginning on Yautja Prime or whatever the home world, it's a desert planet, and in maybe intentional homages, but it felt like it was trying a little too hard to be Dune soundtrack. So maybe a little too close connection there. And to be honest, Elle Fanning, like I said, she does a great job. She provides a lot of the comic relief, pretty much all the comic relief for this movie. In that role, not every joke's going to land, and I don't think every joke landed here either. That's just the name of the game. But overall, I would say this is a solid Predator film, and not the best by any means. I still think the original Predator is unsurpassed in that regard, and if I had the choice between, I mean, for me at least, on a subjective level, between watching this and Alien vs. Predator, I'm still going to lean towards AVP just out of guilty pleasure and nostalgia sake. But again, that's my opinion on that. Your results may differ. If I was going to rate Predator Badlands, give it a letter grade, I would say this comes at a solid B. And if I'm going to weigh this movie in on the scale of unoriginality, I would say this weighs in at less than original. You've seen it before, but it could be worse. So on that note, those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Predator Badlands. Now let's get into some spoiler talk at certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. So the main point of comparison, like I said, you've seen it before, but it could be worse. This feels like, there's a certain Disneyfication of this. That's mainly around the character of Bud. When he, she, it, whatever, comes onto the picture, saves their lives from the giant tree bug or whatever. And, my first impression was, this feels like a toy. I don't care if this is a action kind of R-rated movie for that perspective. This feels like a toy opportunity for kids, and it feels like the older version of kind of what the Mandalorian set up. And story-wise, this feels a lot similar too, where you have an exiled warrior going around and fighting large animals, especially in season 1. And he teams up with a cute little animal sidekick who's helpful. And of course, in Mandalorian, especially season 1, teams up with a robot at a certain point, just like he teams up with Triss or Thea here, and they have the same sort of dynamic, especially the scene, especially when they're camping down for the night, and Bud is imitating Deck's movements as he's getting ready to go to sleep, and especially when he flicks out his sword and light his Yautja version of a lightsaber. Let's just call it what it is. And Deck holds up his little stick with the tip on fire, and it's like, yes, it's cute. It feels like a little manipulative on that front, trying to sell a toy to younger kids who end up getting the parents to take them into, or older siblings to take them in to see this. That again feels like that, and of course, how can I not mention the fact that you have half a robot slung on, being carried on the back by our hero. Hello, Empire Strikes Back. Disney owns Star Wars. Disney owns 20th Century Studios. How can you not make these kind of comparisons here? So there's that, and then of course, and finally, the other main thing I kind of wanted to touch on is the finale, where they make it so the Deck, he gets all of his fancy Predator toys taken away, and he has to improvise weaponry. Some of it so it turns into kind of a nature versus technology fight. And first of all, I can't deny how awesome it was that the acid spewing slug or whatever that eats the little berries or something, it sits on a soldier just like the Predator cannon normally does, and it's like that is that's amazing. That was so cool. But I kind of also have a side niggle. Like, I'm not sure. I guess the reason he harvested the flowers that spit paralytics or whatever is to fling the bomb bugs or whatever on all the synth guards or whatever. But maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it's their story, because when I was picking, it's like, all right, it affects organic beings, but they established that all the Weyland-Yutani personnel on this planet are synthetic, so I'm not sure what that would do. Again, anyways, I feel like it may have just a blink and you'll miss it. I probably misread that. Feel free to correct me in the comments below. All this to say, this felt very much like Avatar, the first Avatar, where the final battle, it did kind of turn into a nature embodied by the Na'vi and Awa, and all the various creatures were fighting against the company and the technology that they were bringing. It was, again, nature versus technology aspects of this conflict. So those are my main points of comparison. I'm sure there were others that people could bring up. What did you think of Predator Badlands? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which should be for Now You See Me, Now You Don't, which comes out this week, I believe. And if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially a subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.